I picked up his phone just to set the medication alarm. The screen was already lit, a chat still open. The last message read, "Sent the 500, same as always." Still meeting at the cabin. Sunday, I stood still in the hospital room, holding the phone like it belonged to someone I'd never met. Everything in that room shrank, like I'd been locked inside a box where air couldn't reach me. If a cheating husband says he's giving to church every month, would you dare check where the money really goes? Lois Chandler had lived in Branson, Missouri, her whole life. At 66, her days followed a gentle rhythm shaped by flour, butter, and sugar. For 30 years. She had run a small bakery near Main Street. Locals knew her by name, and many still called her Miss Lois. Her lemon tarts and pecan rolls had seen first dates, baby showers, and funerals. That little shop wasn't just her work, it was her heart. Her husband, Ronald Chandler, had retired 5 years ago. He had been a structural engineer, practical, quiet, the kind of man who read manuals for fun and never missed a morning paper. They had 3 children now, all grown, living scattered across Oregon, Texas, and North Carolina. Ronald's retirement had brought unexpected distance. He said he wanted to give back, to do something meaningful before he got too old. He told Lois about a small church outside Topeka, Kansas, Trinity Hope. He called it a place that needed support every month, like clockwork. He'd transfer $500 from his separate account. Lois thought it was generous, humble, the kind of thing her Ronald would do. Each weekend, he was off to pray with a small group, or go fishing with the guys, or sometimes just get fresh air. She stayed home with her sourdough and cinnamon glaze. It never occurred to her to question where he went. There had been signs. Once, a padded envelope came in the mail, addressed to Ronald. Inside was a cream-colored silk scarf and a bottle of Chanel No. 5. When she asked, he smiled and said the church sent it. A thank you. They're very kind. He added. Another time, she saw a note on his desk that read, Heart's Work, House Blessing. When she asked, he laughed, said it was part of the church's home improvement ministry. Then came the November chill, the call from the clinic, and Ronald's fever that wouldn't go down. The doctor said it was nothing serious, just dehydration and flu, but he needed monitoring. He was admitted overnight. Lois packed a small bag for him, brought his charger, clean socks, and his phone. The next morning, she picked up the phone to set a medication alarm. The screen lit up on its own. The Signal app was already open. The last message was still on display. Sent the 500, same as always. Still meeting at the cabin Sunday. She scrolled. Another message appeared. Left my sweater in the trunk again. Don't let your wife see it. And the last one, as quiet and cruel as a whisper in the dark. Just tell Lois you're praying. She didn't remember sitting down, but suddenly she was in the hospital chair beside Ronald's empty bed, holding the phone like a grenade. She scrolled, up and up and up, weeks, months, years, pictures. A younger woman with shoulder-length brown hair and a smile too comfortable. Ronald in shirts Lois had never seen, holding a birthday cake with blue icing. Attached were screenshots of transfers every month, all to the same account, Hannah Willis, Springfield, Missouri. The same Springfield just across the state line. Less than 40 minutes from Branson. Lois didn't cry. She read the messages one by one, slowly, like tasting something spoiled to understand what went wrong. Her name showed up often. A cover story, a punchline, a shield. She swallowed hard, but her throat scratched like it was lined with sandpaper. Her left hand began to tremble, a tiny quake that climbed from her fingertips to her shoulder. She pressed on one photo, held it. The screen enlarged. Ronald and the woman, standing close by a lake, his hand on her back, her eyes on his. Lois turned off the phone but couldn't pull her gaze from the black screen. Then, her lips parted. "You used my name to lie. You called me and sent her roses." Her voice broke again, softer. "You prayed, Ronald, but for who? Not everyone who speaks in the name of faith is telling the truth. And not every marriage that lasts decades still holds a shared belief at its core. What breaks us isn't always the betrayal itself. It's the silence that comes after. The kind of silence that wraps around you, convincing you to look away, to keep peace, to not ask questions. But peace built on secrecy is not peace at all. Ronald didn't just lie. He used trust, routine, and morality as camouflage. He created a version of himself I thought I knew, a man of faith, of discipline, of good intention. But underneath, he was a cheating husband who hid behind the image of devotion. And I let that image blind me. I never asked for receipts. I never reviewed his transfers. I told myself that love meant not prying, that marriage meant letting some things stay unspoken. But trust without clarity is not love. It's a gamble. When I uncovered the truth, I sent the screenshots, the photos, and the messages to our 3 children. I expected shock, maybe hesitation. Instead, they responded within the hour. No judgment, no delay, just clarity. "We're with you, Mum. Whatever you decide." Their voices steadied me. I reached out to a retired attorney, a friend from my bakery days. She helped me comb through Ronald's financial activity. The transfers had been regular and deliberate. $500 each month, for 36 months. $18,000 gone from our joint account, disguised as donations. But legally, they weren't donations. They were fraudulent transfers. The money never reached a church. It went to a woman, Hannah Willis, in a different city, under a lie. Together, we compiled the paper trail, digital receipts, message logs, bank statements. I filed for divorce. In court, I presented the evidence. The Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act allowed us to challenge the transactions. The judge reviewed the case and declared those monthly transfers invalid in the context of marital property law. Ronald was ordered to restore half the lost amount, $9,000, into the asset pool to be divided in the settlement. That ruling was more than just numbers. It was recognition. It was legal acknowledgement that financial infidelity carries weight, that hidden decisions have consequences. Next, I closed our joint accounts. I removed his name from all property records. I updated my will, listing only my children as beneficiaries. I made it clear, on paper and in principle, that his choices no longer held power over my future. What Ronald did was more than personal betrayal. It was a form of elder financial abuse, deceiving a long-term spouse, rerouting shared resources, eroding the security I had spent a lifetime building. The court may not call it theft, but I know what it took from me. Still, the law gave me a place to stand. It didn't heal the wound, but it stopped the bleeding. And for the first time in years, I knew what it felt like to stand on something solid. I moved out of the house, not far, just enough to breathe again. I rented a 3rd-floor apartment near the lake, where morning light draped across the windows and the air smelled like pine. The silence there wasn't empty. It was clean. It didn't ask anything of me. It let me rest. I didn't take much from the old house, just my grandmother's mixing bowls, the recipe card stained with vanilla, and a small wooden cross I kept tucked inside a drawer. The rest, I left behind. I had no interest in dragging ghosts into a new home. My daughter, Grace, ran a bakery in Dallas. I asked if she needed help on weekends. She said yes before I finished the question. I wasn't looking for a job, I was looking for something to hold. And there, in her kitchen, with flour on my hands and the hum of mixers in the air, I remembered who I was before the lies. I started teaching a small class every Sunday. Just women who had lost husbands, or trust, or a sense of time. We didn't talk about pain much, but we kneaded dough and shaped stories into something warm again. We baked cinnamon bread that cracked at the edges and pies that bubbled over. We laughed, sometimes cried, but mostly, we remembered how to feel safe in our own skin. Ronald left Missouri after the court ruling. I don't know where he went. I don't care. The cheating husband I thought I'd married disappeared the moment I saw those messages. What remains now is a line drawn in truth. I built a new will, removed his name from every legal document. I took my time redoing the things he had once claimed to manage: utilities, taxes, insurance. And for the first time, I didn't ask permission or second-guess myself. I wasn't rebuilding. I was reclaiming. I stopped pretending. That was the biggest shift. I let the people in my life know what happened, not as gossip, but as testimony. This is what silence allows. This is what doubt protects. This is what happens when kindness is used as camouflage. Some women told me I was brave. I said I was just tired of being fooled. I went back to church, a small one this time. No stained glass, no organ, just folding chairs and honest faces. I sat in the back, listened, prayed, not for answers, but for steadiness. And it came not like thunder, but like the quiet drip of a faucet finally tightened. There was no ceremony, no final word, just mornings that came easier, nights that didn't ache, and a sense that my life belonged to me again. I don't need revenge. I don't need apologies. I need what I've always needed. To be able to say, with both feet on the floor, this is my life. And I am still here,